Today we're going to be learning one of my favorite tunes. This is called Blackberry Blossom. You could hear this in an old time jam or a bluegrass jam, maybe even a Celtic jam. So it's a great crossover tune. It's really pretty and fun to play. A good one to know. So I'm going to go over the melody, the chords, and some of my favorite variations or licks or ideas for coming up with your own licks in this. So it's in the key of G. And there are two parts, so the form is A-A-B-B. So I'm going to go over the A part now, slowly. So the melody sounds like this. And you would repeat that. Now the chords, it does change chords pretty quickly. It's every beat for this part, so definitely something to practice. I'm just gonna play through the chords slowly. So you're gonna need a G, a D, a C, and an A for this part. So this is what the chords sound like. So every beat, so like da 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 da. It's gonna change every beat. So. So those are the chords. Now, the only difference in the first phrase and the second phrase is the end of each phrase. So the last four chords. The first phrase, it ends C, G, A, D. And then the second phrase ends, it's C, G, D, G. So it resolves, basically. So maybe that will help with the memorizing the chords. So now I'm going to go to the B part and play the B part melody slowly. So the B part is in E minor mostly. Starts on an E minor for 3 bars. So 3 bars of E minor, and then 1 bar of B7. And a B7 is just so B, D sharp, F sharp, and then the 7th is an A. So for the chord, you could just play. But when you're soloing over, just remember there's that A natural for the 7th. And then after that, 2 bars of E minor. And then C, G, D, G. So it actually ends the same way as the A part. C, G, D, G. So... That's the B part chords. Now I'm going to go back to the A part, and you would repeat that B part as well. So A, A, B, B. Now I'm going to go back to the A part and go over some variations to the melody. So the first thing I want to say is instead of going, you could also go, so instead of going down, you're going up. So that is one little variation to the melody you could do. Another thing that you could do is adding triplets. So this is a really fun lick. So I'm also, instead of going, I'm going to go. lick, it's just a scale with triplets going down. So that's a really fun lick to throw in there. Another thing that you can do, I always like to try the other octaves as well. So definitely try the other octave. Can throw in some triplets there. Something like that might be nice. Now, one of my favorite licks to do over this section I stole from a mandolin tutorial video, actually, but it sounds really pretty on fiddle too. I think I stole this from David Benedict tutorial, and I might not be doing it exactly the same way, but I definitely stole quite a few licks from that video. So it's actually thirds, the first one I'm going to talk about. So thirds are a really useful fiddle lick. So here's what they sound like on a scale. So basically you're just playing, skipping a note. So we skipped an A, and then we're going back to the note we skipped, and repeating that pattern. You can do it up or down or any which way. So they're a really useful lick. And now here is how I would use it in context. So love that. I think it just sounds so pretty. So the thirds started on the fourth measure, which is where the A chord is. So after, right here. And here's where you start going down. So that's where you start going down. So that's a really nice little lick you can throw in there. Another one that I like to do that I stole from the same video is an arpeggio lick. But it sounds really pretty over the chord changes, and it sounds like this. So over the G, an arpeggio going up, and then over the D, an arpeggio going down, and then over the C. But I do like to use that bowing 3 separate and then 3 slurred. I think it sounds nice. So let me play that in context. So I really like that lick as well. Of course, you can always use some double stops as well, like, or in the lower octave. So definitely find a few places to throw in some double stops if you want. But I think those are some of my favorite licks for the A part. Now let's go on to the B part. So this one's mostly over E minor. So if you're wanting to come up with your own fun licks, I would recommend using this scale. This kind of E minor pentatonic blues scale. So that B flat or A sharp, whatever you want to think of it as. So it's a good one to, those notes work over pretty much the whole B part. I probably would use something different over the B7 chord, but they work nicely over the E minor and also the C, G thing at the end of the phrase. So definitely those B flats, something to throw in your break. So for this part, you could definitely use some triplets. So that was over the B7 chord. So something like that. So find places to throw in triplets. You could also do this. So just arpeggio thing. And then that was over the B7 chord. So that's another thing you could do. Just sliding with your 1 on both strings, A and E. You could do a shuffle rhythm. So slow, that's. So it's 2 times on the bottom string, 1 on the top string. And you want to bring out the melody, or the note that's changing, which is the top string. So, and you can change up the notes once you get the bowing pattern down. So maybe like you throw in a C sharp or something. So you can definitely experiment with that shuffle rhythm in this part. Now another lick that I stole from that same video, but it's a really useful lick that you could use in other tunes. You could reverse it in a lot of different ways, so this is a really, really cool lick. So over the E minor. That was the B7. So that is basically going on the top, right? But I'm playing the same notes. Those are the bottom notes I'm playing every single time, but the top note is changing. Just adding in slur 2 separate also might make it sound cool, but so as long as you got that, so it's E, D sharp, D, C sharp. So that time I just did an arpeggio going up over the B7 chord. So that lick, I was saying you could reverse it. You can instead of going down, what if you went up? Or, I keep messing up. And then you could change it up. What if you changed it to triplets? When you learn a lick, think of all the different ways you could use those same notes or change them up, and then of course also try them in other keys as well, so maybe you could use it in a different tune. And then of course you could play it up the octave. It's a little bit trickier, but if you can get up there somehow. That's in 4th position. So E is here. I need to work on my intonation there, but so 4th position. And then you have to come down from it somehow, but yeah, I would try it up there as well. And then you could also do that shuffle rhythm up there. So if you can get up to this E, which is 4th position 1 on A string, which is an E. Or you could cheat and go on 1 string. Either way. And then you have to come down from that. So lots of room for improvising over this part especially. I feel like the A part, I like to stay more true to the melody, and then this part maybe go crazy. No, I don't know. But and you could use different double stops as well, like something like that. So those are 4ths. Well, starting on a 5th, but then 4ths. Something like that. Little Craig Duncan lick. I also stole a lot of them from him. That was the first version that I learned, was out of a Craig Duncan book, which is a really good book. I would, if you're learning from sheet music, it's a good one to use. I think it's called the Master Fiddler Collection or something like that. But Craig Duncan, and has a lot of really good variations on tunes. Has a lot of tunes. But yeah, so I think that's a good place to end this video. I hope it gave you some ideas and was helpful. If you have any questions or an idea for my next lesson video, write it in the comments, and thanks for watching.